Right, a warm welcome back to the History Show here on Uxbridge FM. And it's my great pleasure, as usual, to welcome back Ken Pearce to the studio. And we have a couple of talks, as usual. Ken's here. First talk today, Tommy Thompson. When you're ready, Ken.
Thank you. In May this year, members of the Uxbridge Local History Society met in the local studies room at the Central Library to inspect a new showcase. This came about thanks to a generous bequest from a former society member, Tommy Thompson. He died in 2012, leaving a considerable sum of money, I quote, with the wish that the same be used towards the establishment of a museum in Uxbridge. Our borough has no museum. I think it's almost the only borough in London that hasn't got a museum. At the time when Tommy died, there was a rumour that the former RAF cinema might possibly be altered for that purpose. Since then, the topic has died, probably due to the realization that the old RAF cinema would need an enormous sum of money spent on it to make it suitable for a modern archive. Meanwhile, my society has been sitting on the money, and of course, as you realise, not gaining a lot of interest these days. So more recently, it was decided to use the fund to purchase a fine modern showcase for the local studies room. This was duly installed earlier this year and was initially filled with items about Tommy's own life in the town. Who then was Tommy Thompson? The Society's vice chairman, Tony Mitchell, gave this account of his life. Thomas Percy Neville Thompson was born in Hoxton, where his family owned a small factory making sweets and confectionery. Tommy's mother died when he was still small, and so he was looked after by his father, Percy, and his aunts. But eventually his father decided to come to Uxbridge, where his grandmother, Sarah Thompson, already ran a sweet shop called Percy's. And some of her stock came initially from the family factory. Tommy attended school at Frey's College in Harefield Road, but it was not an entirely happy time, since Tommy was dyslexic, and that was a condition not properly understood then. He left at the age of 14 to work in factories and also the family shop, and eventually gained a place at Halton Grange, a college for aircraft engineers. By this time, the family premises were required for the new underground station. So in 1934, the shop, Percy's, moved to 236 High Street, near what was then the Regal Cinema. In the Second World War, Tommy served in the RAF as an aircraft fitter and then returned to run the family shop. He continued to sell confectionery and sweets, but rather strangely, he also sold model railway equipment, which reflected his own particular interest. Retirement in 1983 gave Tommy the opportunity to devote more time to his enthusiasm for public transport. And in particular, he offered his services to the Cryche Tramway Museum in Derbyshire. He went there from time to time, qualified as a tram driver, and back at his home in Park Road, he actually made component parts for trams that were undergoing restoration. In 1994, he was elected president of the Tramway Museum Trust for a year. He belonged to other transport-based societies, and his holidays were usually spent travelling on trams in this country and abroad. He was a long-standing member of the Uxbridge Local History Society and took photographs of what was going on in the town. In particular, since he lived near, it was the Chimes development he photographed from start to finish. On one occasion, he actually got a disposable camera and gave it to a crane driver. So this man took the camera up to the top of the crane and photographed the scene of the building, and of course then returned it to Tommy. So he was very active in his retirement. He was respected by many people in the history world for his immense knowledge of the district and his willingness to share it with others.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Sounds like a great guy.
Yes, he was. He was slightly eccentric, but nevertheless, he was a thoroughly good sort.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ken. Stay with us because we've got more talks coming up